I'm on my trying to do my show. Trying. There we go. Holy crap. I'm on my trying to do my show. Trying. There we go. Holy crap. All right, so everyone that's at home is on the internet, so that was horrible and time consuming. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Welcome to SEO This Week, episode 158. Let me make some more adjustments here. Drive me nuts. There you go. Sheesh. Okay, so again, as I was saying, episode this week, episode SEO this week. Jesus Christ, I'm tongue-tied. Episode 158, and welcome everybody to the show. Haven't been around for a while. Frankly, it's just, man, the world is just kind of, pissing me off and making me angry and then sad and whatever else. So just haven't been up to it. And frankly, the news is, it's all the same. The world is ending. Everyone's going to get you sick. All my business is leaving. We're all going to be devastated until the end of days, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't need to be another voice in that chorus of singing the same old crap. So with that, I just kind of, I didn't have anything nice to say, so why say anything at all, right? So we didn't do the show, but then bringing it back, and today I'm going to go over some quick overview of some stories that I found that were pretty interesting while I was gone, and then I want to focus pretty much exclusively on unboxing Cora Lite. I literally just installed it today. I haven't done anything with it other than set the API keys, just because I didn't want to share the API keys live. Lips are moving, no sound. Yep, sounds working on the video, Lee. So something's going on with your internet. It's on your end. Okay, so let's get over to the actual stories. Let me share my screen. I'll just share the browser for now. Okay, so here we go. The first one is a video, marketing services during COVID. This is actually a decent video, and the presentation is really cool, and I like it, and I like the way they did it, and I'm probably going to model more of my videos after this guy. This is a great presentation style. But he goes over talking about some things that you can do and talk about with your clients or your prospects in order to take advantage of the current situation, and it is the best way that you can. It's real short. Again, you like the presentation, the style of it, etc. And I think it's really clear, and you get some really good ideas out of it. As a matter of fact, I actually closed a client yesterday. So people are still closing clients. People are still doing marketing. And as the talk and the political rhetoric kind of spins over into the let's open everything back up, people are going to start turning their marketing back on. So look for that and look at this video as an opportunity to kind of how to approach that and think about some ways to bounce that out. Okay, and then let's see. Google more granular levels of speed may become a ranking factor. I think that you're talking about page speed optimization and stuff, and that's really where this is going. And it's saying that in the future, Google may look at speed metrics in a smaller way and then decide if that's going to be a ranking factor. And I think, honestly, as busted ass as page speed insight is, I don't see them actually doing this anytime soon. Even the Google's own properties aren't optimized in accordance with page speed insights metrics. And when you can get 100 and 100 in there and then still have a 5-second site, it's just a waste of time. So I think what John may be leaning towards is that user metrics may become a more part as Chrome gets smarter and more smarter and tracks more user movements and what they're doing on the site and how fast things are loading, etc. That may become an issue. But at the end of the day, Google really, their focus is so zeroed in on mobile that if your speed on your mobile site is like, if it takes 10, 15 seconds to load a mobile site, you got issues, right? So as long as you're beating that 3-second thing now and well into the future, I think you're going to be fine. Maybe as internet speeds everywhere kind of improve, like 5G supposedly is going to be faster than broadband. I don't know, maybe someone here is pushing off of 5G already. um, that would be let me know, is it fast as broadband? And then if 5G is fast as broadband and in 3 seconds, and if you're loading at broadband speeds for 3 seconds or fast or slower, then you definitely have issues to work on. But you can read this story here and check out John's insights. It is what it is. It's just he said something on Twitter and then they wrote a story about it at the end of the day. That's what that turns out to be. This is a SEO testing with Google Tag Manager. I personally don't use Tag Manager for this. I use Google Optimize, and we implemented that over at Over the Top SEO just recently with the whole team wide. Is we're going to use Google Optimize for SEO testing, but there's also a way to do it here with the A/B testing inside of the tag manager. So if you're a tag manager newbie or you just want to learn how to play with it, mash some buttons and stuff, this is a good way to get started. Personally, I think that um, Google made the tool Google Optimize for this for the A/B testing purposes. So you should probably be leveraging that because you can change a whole lot more. Um, but this is still a good option, in my opinion. The only downside is I can't figure out on Google Optimize how to change title tags and meta descriptions. I can change the look of the page and I can do CRO stuff, or I can change content and do SEO tests, etc. But I can't figure out how to do title tags and meta descriptions. And I use SEO Scout for that. Yeah, SEO Scout. And it used to be AB rankings. It used to be the site, but now it's SEO Scout. And then you just plug in a JavaScript and you can change it, the title tags and meta descriptions with JavaScript on the fly, and test CTR and test ranking improvements and stuff. So, but look at this. Look at Google Tag Manager. If you don't want to mess with Google Optimize, it's an option just to get your foot in the door. Maybe, especially if you're dealing with e-com stuff. Maybe it's a faster process or workflow for you. Here's another page speed thing. You guys know I'm a page speed junkie, so I kind of talk about these a lot. Is how to improve page speed from start to finish. This was a decent guide. Typically, I don't share a lot of these just because I got my own service and I have my own way of doing things, right? So it being here is probably pretty reflective for you. But this is written by Patrick Stocks, and it's just there's some things that you can do and plugins to put in and take out that might make things a little bit better. Excuse me. Fucking Chinese spammers are back. All right, so yeah, so check out this post. It's pretty good. I actually got a couple tips out of it that were really useful to me, and it's kind of added to the workflow of the service. So I think you'll enjoy that. And then the last one is Mueller's indexing of hidden tab content. Basically, it's saying they busted the myth that Google weighs and values content that's hidden behind accordions and tabs. So I think, well, who was it? I think it was Moz that put it out, or that they did a test, and then that John Mueller and them said, no, we're not reading stuff that's hidden. It's hidden content, and you can't have it, and it's not going to be valuable to you. And then everyone and their brother did test with carousels, accordions, and tabs, and it's actually that's actually pretty false that Google's not reading those, right? I think we all know it. Um, and I think Ted Vitus may even want to have gone so far as to show that comments are actually having an effect too. not hidden. It's just not even. It's in the HTML. It's not on the page. So, um, but it's a correlating factor, right? So sometimes you'll see those if you're running Cora. The the comments, put variations in comments on your HTML as a possible ranking factor. So, and then when I did test the SAA and we hid content, we did some old school stuff, black strips with white letters or black letters and all the content stuff in there. We did tabs, accordions, carousels. It's all ranking. So when it's, I don't understand like Mueller's thinking when he's coming from a PR perspective, saying that this stuff doesn't, that Google is not weighing it because they are. It's clearly there. It's clearly, you can show the evidence that it's happening, they don't get anything out of just saying this. So it just kind of reduces, in my opinion, it reduces his legitimacy as a spokesman for Google because either a he's intentionally being misleading. And if that's the case, then why have a show anyway if you're just going to have a dude flat out lie? Or B, he doesn't really know the algorithm and he just knows being a webmaster and the things that he's done. And that's what he's basing his advice off of. So he's like, just that guy that doesn't have access, like the ads team doesn't have access to the search team. So the ads team doesn't know what does and doesn't affect the algorithm, but they can talk to you about ads. And I think Mueller is probably in that same position. He's just a glorified um, spokesperson. He's a webmaster. He maybe has some projects inside of Google beyond that. But it's if he's saying this stuff, either he's flat out lying, which it negates any credibility whatsoever, or he just doesn't know, and he's just like, yeah, it doesn't count, and he's not applying this stuff in the real world and see if it works. So, interesting story. You can read on it, read the take here in the article. I think it's pretty good. So again, if you like, hopefully you guys like the new format. I was going through the stories and popping them out and just here's the story, blah blah blah. And then when we talk about it, and it was kind of okay. But again, we're seeing the same things over and over and over again. So I'm just gonna find stuff that's, if it's cool, if it's interesting, great. We'll have some stories. If it's not, then we're gonna do some other stuff and talk about other things and um, build some SEO and do some cool stuff and site audits and stuff. So hopefully it doesn't take away the value of SEO this week for you guys. But this I've done 150 episodes right now, and it's kind of I'm done reading other people's junk to be honest and sharing it. So hopefully you appreciate that. You can see those links on the in the on Digital Ear. The link is down below in the descriptions. And with that, I am going to bust open Cora Lite. So I'm going to share the screen again. I'm going to give you the whole. Actually, I can share this Cora Lite. Okay, here we go. So, like I said before, I just installed this today. Ted actually gave it to me. Like, I'm pretty sure he gave it to everybody, but all the core members a couple of days ago, or maybe even last week. It's probably last week because I took the weekend off. and so I just installed it today, and I wanted to do kind of a unboxing episode, if it as it were, just to talk about the software, some of the cool things we can do with it, and maybe give you guys a little bit of insight into how my mind works when I get a hold of a new toy and figure out what I can do with it. So it's kind of the format of how I did the course on what ranks. There's a Cora course. So if you haven't checked that out, go to whatranks.com. It's free. It does, well, technically it's not free. You have to give me your email address and you have to click the confirm and Aweber or you won't get access. So, So that's the only cost. And don't worry, I won't spam you or anything. I just I use it for announcements and maybe some affiliate stuff. Um, but I think there's probably 3 or 4 hours of video in there, just walking through Cora, simple. This is how I use it, and etc. And I not only do I come with the main topics of the course, but I also talk about some unconventional or unintended uses that maybe Kaya or Ted didn't think of. And I show some of those inside of that course. And so I'm going to do that here with Cora Lite, but you're going to get to see it kind of in real time. I don't know if that impresses you or not. Impresses me. So we're going to do is first just give you a walkthrough. I don't know if you've seen Ted's video, but as a user, I have a different perspective than Ted. So the settings section, like I said, I filled all of this out. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing this way and do the whole screen. There you go. Okay, so I filled the API keys, so you can't have those. But I made a new folder in the output directory. I called it Cora Lite. I leave it at this is the default is 3. And there you go. That was slow. I changed it to 5. Just because I have more CPU threads. So basically, the way Ted talks about this, if you have 8 threads in your CPU, don't go any more than 8, right? Or just your computer will freeze to death. I typically leave it at 5. Just it does fine with my computer. I got more threads than that, but 5 just works fast enough for me. And then the rest of the stuff you can just leave it alone. I'm gonna mess around with digital ear, so I'll put that in here. Something's making my computer really slow. And I don't know if that's TED software. I wasn't having a problem earlier. Let me hit save. Let me look down here. I don't have anything else open. Well, I got Cora open. Let me click with Cora. Let's see if this moves a little bit better now. Yeah. Don't have them both open at the same time, apparently. Competitors, you could put those in there if you want to, especially if you're doing the same what you call it, same niche or whatever. Um, you can drop those in there, and it'll look for them inside of the search results. Enable text raiser if you're not using text raiser or a like tool to get entities and stuff. You're doing yourself a disservice. So in this tool, make sure you enable text raiser. You're going to need that. And this stuff, I really don't really mess with it too much. You can edit this as you want, but this is Ted did a really good job researching some of this stuff. So I pretty much leave it alone and never use proxies, and then you can mess with this later. Build index is, where is it going to go? I'm actually going to choose a folder right now just to do it, because I always want to use that. I'm always going to use that Core Lite folder anyway. So at least to start off, and then your stem URL. So in our case, for this, I'm just going to put this in. Can you type my own thing? And so basically, what it's going to do is it's going to go in here from the videos that I've seen. Is go into this folder. I'll choose the date folder again, and then it'll make all the files that it makes if I do a whole bunch of them. And then it'll add the stem URL to that, so that when I upload it to digitalear.com, for example, it will be viewable. And I'm going to hit save, and that's the description. It's pretty easy. I typically the track domain, we're going to leave that just because. And desktop, I'll leave go US. Scroll down here to States. And this is the Arizona. I'll set the language just because. And then we'll do Phoenix SEO. And then I'll hit search. That all worked as expected, just like Cora. I found the URL. If you guys have been following along from previous shows, I haven't optimized this page at all. As a matter of fact, Digital Ear is a busted hot mess right now because I'm making the course right in conjunction with that. What I like is we get to track the competitors. So I want to get the averages of the top 10, and then I want to beat them. And Cora Lite allows me to do that, in my opinion, in a much better way. Upcity is a directory, so I really don't care about that. And there's Terry Samuel's site, which I want to pick on Terry. So and then Search Explosion, we'll pick on Joshua Fletcher too. And then you can scroll through here, and you'll find that. Make sure that your site here's Digital Ear, and it's clicked as tracked. So if you have Cora, this interface should be pretty familiar to you. Now you just click data and let it do its thing. I saw the demonstration videos. Ted did two of them. One was kind of a teaser. One was a teaser, and what that did just kind of get my juices flowing and some ideas and things to do with it. And then he showed me a website that he built using just Cora Lite, which was really cool. And then finally, he just released his. It's a 30-minute kind of instructional video on how to use this, and it actually rendered pretty fast. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this does. I'm using a lot of CPU power right now because I'm streaming, and I got this thing running. So we're gonna see what what happens. See if we can handle it. And if it freezes, this is perfect because I like to see things happen in real time. It's kind of stuck there at 50, and there we go. That's the dreaded spinning wheel of death that I get from Cora from time to time as well. And I bet you it's frozen. Yep, not responding. I'm going to give it a second just to see because it's a new software. So this is why I like doing the unboxing stuff. What happens? Just so you know, I'm running a Mac. It's a 2014, late 2014 Mac. I got extra memory in it. I can actually show you. Nope, I can't. Let me pick another. There you go. Yeah, so there you go. It's 5K, 3.5 gigahertz quad, 32 megabytes of RAM, and Cora Lite is frozen. So this happens to me with Cora, the regular one too. Don't know why, just kind of it's life. So I'm gonna do force quit, and then we will try it again. That's also why Ted's not here. I wanted to make sure that there's no undue influence. All right, let's go. Waiting for you. Okay, serial is active. Everything's good. I'm going to verify the settings one more time just to make sure everything's saved. Pretty sure it did. Yep, it's there. We'll put this stuff back. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix SEO is the term. Click search. Just found it. Click data. There we go. Now with Cora, if it freezes on you, typically what I found, at least on my computer, it'll freeze up. I'll have to do force quit, and then I'll run it, and then I won't have any problems again. So um, we'll see what happens here. This may be the shortest demo of Cora ever if it doesn't work right. And then it also, like Ted just said it here, he's got an updated Chrome. He's going to put in this, fixing this, and then he told me earlier he's got some keyword density updates that are coming in the next update, etc. So, and as more people run into it, they'll have all this stuff hammered out. You just kind of know how Ted works. Yep, it froze up. All right, so that's the fastest unboxing ever. Let me see. Hey Ted, you're there, and since we ran into this, might as well. What I'm going to do is I'll give you the link to Zoom, and then we'll show yours, and then I can do this again at another time with just me, if you're okay with that. So let me put this into, because you guys, I want you guys to see this. I want you to see the tool, and remember, Windows and Mac, and I'm a beta test guy, right? So I break shit all the time, and Ted will find stuff that's not working on my computer, and it'll work on everyone else's, and just I'm cursed, I guess, or I'm charmed that way. um, so hopefully Ted will be able to come on, and he can go over this really quickly if he's up to it, and if not, yep, here he is. Let me push the admit button. Ladies and gentlemen, Ted Kabitis.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
All right.
So hopefully Ted will be able to come on and he can go over this really quickly if he's up to it. If not,
no, I'm up for it. I am just resetting my system because I was in Cora update mode, and now I have
coding zoned.
Oh, 1 second. I got my YouTube going. Where did I put that? There it is. Okay. Back off. I'm a professional.
Wait. Well, yeah, I like doing that. See, that's one of the reasons why I didn't want you to have it here. If I was having drama and issues, got to figure that out. Maybe that helps you come up with a solution. But
yeah, I've had a couple reports of people saying, about 10% of the time they see that. I wonder if streaming at the same time doesn't help produce it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I get the same result.
I wouldn't doubt it, because I think Zoom is taking up more memory now than normal. Plus, I'm pushing in and out and then using the internet at the same time. You know what I mean? So using the software. I think you said before it was a timeout issue, right?
Well, the web is kind of really a bag of complex problems. So every situation can potentially be different. And when you do something like Cora, like what these SEO tools do, they're basically, if they're rendering, they're akin to opening up 100 tabs on Chrome all at once. Yeah. And when you're trying to do that as fast as possible, you're like saying, well, I'll give each of them 3 seconds to render, and then I'll go back through and scan, and the ones that look incomplete, I'll render more slowly. And you do these passes to try to make it efficient.
Yeah.
And then you end up getting a presentation on a YouTube channel, and it all goes to shit. So that's kind of the nature of the beast. All right, so let me clear up a...
And while you're doing that, Ron Sellers uses the software, just so you guys all know. He's using it, and he hasn't had any issues. Lee Witcher says occasionally. It happens to him when he's running some stuff, so it's not reflective. It's software. You guys kind of know how it is. You've all been around the block enough to know that sometimes crap breaks. So,
all right, are you seeing my screen?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, let me open up my settings, track domain. You were doing digital ear.
Yeah.
And
Phoenix SEO.
Phoenix SEO. All right, so we got the track domain. I noticed that yours wasn't highlighting. If you go into settings and set the color, it should correct that for you if you
Okay.
care about the highlighting. I'll go ahead and get data.
There you go. See, it's working fine now. I get 20 requests.
Yeah, I
Yep.
suspect since Cora is highly threaded, it's probably really difficult to get peak performance and stream video at the same time.
Right.
But we'll see. No, it looks like it's. Oh, no, made it to slow render. So it got past where you got.
Yep.
So yeah, it might be the fact that you increased your thread count while trying to do video streaming.
Oh, that's
This
true.
helps reproduce the problem. And that's a good clue that'll help me try to reproduce it on my end and try to find a fix.
Yep. And I can also, when we're done here, I'll shut everything off again and try to run the same thing without everything streaming. So, and if it works, then we know you're on the right track. So let's. I think in your video you talked about this, but since we're waiting and got nothing else to talk about, got to fill this some dead air. What's the difference between fast render and slow render?
Well, like I mentioned before, a web page, in many cases is never done rendering.
Mm-hmm.
There are web pages out there that are set on timers to rotate content, to refresh content. And if you let those pages sit, they'll just kind of evolve with time and they'll never stop evolving. So at some point, you have to say, when is it rendered enough? And Google's definition of rendered enough is 20 seconds after the document ready event. But they kind of cheat. They've built a JavaScript engine that accelerates time, and that 20 seconds actually occurs in about 1.2 seconds of actual Google server time. So with Cora, we don't have a custom implementation of JavaScript like that. So we have to do the best we can to try to render the content. So I do a fast pass where I say, okay, at about 2 seconds, we're going to call it rendered and go and get all of the HTML at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the results we got and we say, which ones are broken HTML, which ones are abnormally small HTML. And let's go back and let's reload those, but give them a lot more time to render. That's the slow render pass. The idea is to try and open up those 100 browser tabs as quickly and as efficiently as possible so you can get your data.
Perfect.
So we got the report, and this is currently showing some other features that aren't out yet. So this you won't see, but I'm creating the ability to reference specific factors within your templating. So if you want to say, here's the exact match requirements I recommend, you can put those into your templates.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
so that's coming out in the next version, but the template was shared. This is the old version, not the development version, which is why this didn't render.
All right.
But then we have our roadmap. And the first thing you'll notice here is the inline documentation. So we tell you what exact match means. We define what variations are. We list those variations. These little numbers next to each variation, That's how many of your chosen competitors use it. So if you're wondering what a leading match is, we show you, we tell you what it is, and we give you an example of a tag with a leading match. Making whole tags, again, like here, variations making whole H5 tags. We explain what that is over here. Entities, we explain what they are. And again, we tell you how many of your chosen competitors. If you had 20 competitors clicked, this would go up to 20. And then we give you the most broadly applicable ones first and reduce from there. Same thing with LSI. How many of your competitors are using each LSI term? And we have triple word, double word, single word LSI all in that report. Then over here, we have the factors, and you'll notice that some of them are hot links. Each factor typically has a thing in a zone. So entities and sentences. So the thing, the entities will be in the inline documentation. There'll be a section for it explaining what they are. And then the zone, if it makes sense, sentences, you all know what sentences are. We don't need to explain that zone. But I tags, you might say, well, I don't know what I tags are. What are I tags? You click it, and it takes you to the best documentation that I know of for what an I tag is. So it gives you examples and it explains it and talks about compatibility. Far more documentation that I would ever write myself.
That's true.
Same thing, like here it is. We were doing Phoenix SEO, and it's saying, hey, you probably want to use this professional service JSON LD. Well, I don't know the specifics of that. It'll take you to the schema.org for professional service. And oftentimes with these at the bottom, they'll even have examples, not all the time. If you go to the parent level in those cases, it'll usually have examples. So here's local business as the parent. Check if they have examples. Yeah, they have examples. And so you could go to JSON LD and dig into it. So if your specific entity doesn't have examples, go one level up to get them. So we have, between the inline documentation and the zone hot links, I mean, it's very ergonomic to learn what you don't know. And so most of these are linked. Again, like phone numbers, you know what phone numbers are. We didn't need a link for that. So I tried to make sure that every factor I put into Cora Lite was either intuitive on its own or had a link to good resources. So
Right.
all 556 factors are going to be, like these. And again, how to use the report, since this first report is the roadmap, it's the most important part. There's two columns. There's to be above average, add this many more, and to take the lead, add this many more. So there are 2 degrees of tuning. If you're not on page 1 and you're just looking to try to get there efficiently, maybe you just want to be above average for page 1. So this will help you get there with a least cost type of approach. But if you're already on page 1 and you're number 6 and you'd really like to be number 4, then maybe you need to start taking the lead in some things. So Clint, what are your thoughts about these 2 degrees of tuning?
So the question, Dory and I were having a conversation about Cora, and what she was wondering, and I don't think I articulated very well, is it the average of the 100 or the average of the competitors you pick?
No, these are solely based on competitors chosen.
Perfect.
So to be above average for your chosen competitors and to take the lead among your chosen competitors.
So to make sure I explained it correctly, it was you use all 100 sites to find out what is correlating, and then you go back where the software goes back and says, "Here's
Yeah.
the 10 that I want to compete against. Here's where they stand on those things, and here's how to beat them."
Yeah. What you don't need to know as SEOs is that we're using complex math on your behalf. And that math is telling us that number of entities used predicts the sort order of the rankings the best. And that's why it's at the top. This order is determined by math based on what Google appears to favor. So the strongest factors will be at the top and they'll get incrementally weaker as you work your way down the list. And that's why these are in this order. So we know that this is correlating, but you don't need to know that. You don't need to be a math expert. You just need to understand that, oh, they're looking at all 100 results to figure out which factors Google likes, but then they're giving me tuning recommendations only based on the competitors I've chosen.
Awesome. I like that. I like that you just put that up to make it easier for anyone. You just go, all right, I'm making a brand new page. This is the things I need to do to be above average. See where it lands, and then now I can go back and reference this port again, or it because it's fast, make a new one and say, what do I need to do now to take the lead?
Yeah, exactly. And, some of these things you'll be like, well, adding 14 entities and adding 27 entities, I mean, I'd rather just get it done once instead of going back and doing it twice because the difference between these two is nothing.
Right.
But then you might get to something like word count where, well, crafting 1,500 words or crafting 4,000 words, I mean, that's time and money. So there you'd probably want to be more discerning. And, the same rules apply. We still say, in general, pick 5 or 10 easy ones, knock them out, see if you get a result. You can always do additional passes.
Right. Yeah, that's how I use it. And that's how I use Cora is I find the easy stuff that I can knock out really quick, see where I land, and usually just following that, or even now it's the roadmap. So you just follow the roadmap and hit the good stuff, and
Yeah. And
usually in the top 20. So
95% of the time, what you've just seen is all you need. Like you're done. You've learned it. There are a few cases where you'll need more information. In the next update, there will be a keyword density block. I don't anticipate many novices using keyword density because it's a very tricky thing to tune for. So it'll be there if you do want it, but you probably won't need it. We have the competitive comparison. So if you check 20 websites, all 20 would be in here. We'd have to scroll horizontally. And each of them, the number 1, 2, 3, 4, if you didn't check 4, it'd go 1, 2, 3, 5. It represents the numbers you selected. And each of these are hot links to the competitor's page. So if you need to explore an outlier, you can click on these headings to go look at them. And that's one of the fastest ways to learn technical SEO is to find outliers and various factors and go say, why is this one so much higher? What are they doing on page to ramp this up? And going there and taking a look at what's going on is a quick way to develop a menu of tactics on how to address that factor.
can you talk
And
about the color codes real quick?
yeah. So the Christmas colors. So the bold green is the maximum. So when you find the maximum of your competitors, you'll see it's bold green. Just regular green is above average. So we have the average here. If you're above that average, you're regular green. If you're below average, you're red. So at a glance, we can see where the best and above average measurements are and where the deficits are. And this final column, this is the critical value. This is what you needed to be significant. And these are the correlation coefficients. These are the scores we get on which factors are strongest. They range from -1 to +1, and any values near 0 are considered random outcomes. But you don't need to know all that if you just want to know that we are doing the math, and if you're a statistician and you want to check our work, this is your ability to do that.
From a user perspective, is that like the overview sheet on Cora where I select the top set of
Yes,
output? Okay.
it's exactly the overview sheet, but it's not giving you all results. It's only giving you your website and your chosen competitors, nothing
I'm
else.
talking about the color code. So if I'm
Oh
looking at
yeah,
this, I would
the
stop at, I just do all the green ones and then see where I'm at, and then maybe take the ones with no colors later.
yep, yeah, it's similar. And then below the competitive overview, we have the search results snapshot. So if you want to see a snapshot of what the search results looked like at the time the report was made, you have that as well. And this is very useful for identifying things like exact match and partial match domains. Are you competing against that? What about leading matches and title tags? How many people start with Phoenix SEO? You know, something's going on there. Oftentimes you can tell the type of page that's ranking just by glancing at the URL. Is it a home page? Is it a blog post? Is it a category page? Is it a product page? Usually you can discern those things just from eyeballing the URLs. So you can tell a lot of very valuable information about what's ranking just by glancing at the results snapshot. And then, of course, at the bottom, you know, wow, there's a pretty footer. And up at the top, you know, hey, Ted has his marketing message and his branding. Well, that kind of sucks. I don't want to promote Ted. What a jerk. Well, it's all customizable. So you can customize that HTML header. You can put anything you want in there. Same thing with the footer. I put that graphic in there at the bottom. You can customize the head block of the HTML. You can put in your tag manager and Google Analytics and customize the SEO of it. You can do anything you want with the branding. So it can be your company, your message, whatever you want to do. And then over here on the branding tab, we explain some of the wildcards that you can put into your template to dynamically populate values of things. So if you want the track domain name used somewhere or the URL of the track page that the report was made for, you can reference those using these wildcards and they'll be put in. Now, this report got saved to our output folder and we did it in track domain mode. If we did it in all results mode, it creates a folder in your output folder and it creates one of these reports for every single search result for your keyword. Let me show you what that looks like. Here we go. So I'm in this folder 2020 0415 where I ran DUI Lawyer Los Angeles in all results mode, and it creates a report for each result in the top 100. So if I click into any of these, I get the report for that website. Let me
That's huge.
let me resize my browser window. And so yeah, they customize, and there's a couple differences with the all reports one. One of them is that in the search results snapshot, the domains here
Uh-huh.
cross-link all the reports. So all these reports are cross-linked via this. And
So
that's important.
when I was doing the settings, that was we go to digitalear.com, and would it automatically apply the cross links there too?
Yes. So
Okay.
all these reports will cross-link each other. So I can go to different businesses just by clicking them. And then these links, however, go to the actual search result page. And so if you're using these for passive outreach or link building techniques or creating content of some sort, you get your siloed cross-linking via this part of the page.
Okay.
These are all no followed links. We no follow everything because we know when you put 10,000 of these up, you'll get a ton of link removal requests. And it's very convenient to say those are no follow links. You don't need to worry about them.
Right.
End of discussion.
That's the
Uh,
same with the website links too, right?
yeah. So when we go into the software, let me go back to that Finder folder. So inside this folder, I just have a folder and a bunch of web pages. I can't really upload this because it'll be a real pain to get it indexed. So I need an HTML index and a sitemap. So what I can do is I can go back to my software. I can go to the settings. I can go to build index, and I need to choose that date folder that was on the 15th. Let me find that. That was in my outliers folder and April 15th. And so I say open. And I have my stem URL here. And I say build index. And the stem URL is the root level URL you plan to host it on. And so when I say build index, I can see that it finished creating. Let me go back to my folder. And now in here at this today, it created this sitemap file, which has my URLs for when I upload this folder to my hosting. And I also have an index file that uses, again, my branded template, but it creates this table of contents because this folder, this date folder, could have had folders for 500 keywords, and it would create a master index for all of them. And clicking these takes you to that location on the page, and then each of these are the individual reports for that keyword.
Okay.
And if I go to my big example, here's that table of contents, but I ran reports for each of these cities. So Albuquerque SEO, Austin SEO, Durham SEO. I created over 10,000 Cora Lite reports running all these city SEO combinations. So I can go to Phoenix SEO. It takes me to that part of the page. I can go find over the top, and I can see that their exact match in the HTML tag is below average.
Right.
I'd probably fix that. That's a big one, especially since it's a top ranking factor.
Cool.
But that's how the build index feature works. And now I can upload the folder in those index files. And just like you saw with my website, this is a real website. You can go visit it and kick the tires and see 10,000 Cora Lite reports that I made in under 3 days.
How does the indexing?
What's that?
How's the indexing on this site?
Uh, I'd say good, not great with my template. It's as
Right.
good as the template you put into it.
Right.
And I didn't put a very good template into it.
In the on the individual pages, you have the stuff on the right hand side, the dummy stuff, the about report, exact match. Is that stuff that can users can edit to for their own tone of voice and how they want to explain things so that they're consistent, or is that kind of software default?
Well, in this first version, you can customize the heading
Uh-huh.
and the footer. So
Okay.
the header and the footer you can customize, and this is kind of forced content.
Right.
I plan to add some, I guess, tags that you can throw in that will disable these things, that will hide them if you don't want them rendered.
Right.
And then at that point, you could write your own into your own template.
Is that something that's editable in the HTML right now? Because you already rendered it with the software. Now can I
Yeah,
go?
yeah, you could go page by page, but if you did what I did and made 10,000 pages, that would suck. You could do a find and replace if you have an IDE that supports that.
Right. Let's see what else was I.
But yeah, in the next update, there'll be suppression tags where you could say suppress inline docs, suppress the roadmap, and then it just won't draw them. Um, but again, that would be advanced usage. Most
Yep.
people probably wouldn't care about that. I know Clint does because he wants to use it for creating websites for other purposes than SEO.
What about in the header? I know you can change it. Can I use spun content, so that let's say I make 20 pages and I'm using the same template. Is that spinnable, or does that just kind of rely on the short codes to make it unique?
Right now, there's no spin text support in it, but that'll probably change in future updates.
Uh-huh.
The question is, how best to do it. Should we use, which convention of spin text, to use? Do you want to go out to APIs that'll, not only spin it, but will create spin text for you, or will just give you a spun edition of what you already have?
Right.
So there's a number of considerations, and that's why that'll probably be in an update.
Version 5. What else was I thinking? I had one more. You already answered the one that I was worried about. Was all these links, are they all sending juice out? So is that negating the left column there just because they're all interlinked? But I've got 10,000 links on this page. Will that reduce the value of it? I don't think it will.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Yeah, given that all of these to the documentation are no follow, all of these to the entities are no follow, all of these to the websites are no follow, even
Uh,
these header ones, they're no follow.
okay.
So
I did the mobile because of indexing, because I'm still in that. So, is it this page mobile friendly, or can I add the HTML to the head in the software, and will it recognize that when I put it in
yeah,
there?
you'd wanna add it to the head. And anything you do with the styles in the head, you can override using the important indicator. You can override the styles of everything. So it's all based on class names. You find the class name in the HTML source and you update it in the head. Let me go back to my software. So head tag, you could go in here, put in a style block and use exclamation important and override the styles.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think what was it? I think wasn't it Cora? It was one of the, I think it was Cora. No. What is that one that was doing? It was the IMG testing tool. That's what it was. And we couldn't put the actual the code that Google's looking for in the body and in the head that says, "Hey, this is what to do for mobile."
Yeah, the test tool is a bit more tricky. There's special stuff for the viewport and the canonical tag and things of those nature. And so we might have to address some of those concepts here too down the
Right.
road.
I think I'll have to look at it because it was the body. If you address the HTML header one, but there's the body. There's one you put in the body too that we found that um, clears all of the error codes out of Search Console, and that was increasing the indexing of our test pages and our other real websites for that matter. We were making sure that we're the mobile because of mobile first. We surmise that if the Search Console is giving us errors, it's not sending the pages to the actual live index versus the Search Console index. So the Search Console would say, "Oh yeah, you're fine, you're indexed," but when you do the actual look in the live index, it wasn't there. And then when we fixed the mobile issues, we found the stuff in the live index. So
Yeah. So let me know what you need in that front, and I'll happily add anything like that.
I think it looks like you're using a lot of the same styling from the other reports. So I'll send you the 2 lines that we added. It was actually that simple as 2 lines of code.
Yep.
And that should help it out. I'm excited about this. Those being able to pick the factors, especially that's really cool. Keyword density. I think I would use it. I would also like to see the from the SEO editor is the entity density. See that in there as well, just to give
Yeah.
me a better idea. Like
The
I know that it's
the main reason I haven't put entity density in there yet is it's TBD on being proven as
yeah,
an SEO concept. So I didn't want people spending time on something that the testing community hasn't proven yet.
right. Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to putting it in there, but I would like SIA and IMG to kind of prove that as a thing before we have
Prove
people spend time on it.
right. Prove it works. That makes sense. What else? The entities, the links, does that go to the Wikipedia pages?
Yes. So when I click on search engine optimization, it goes to the Wikipedia.
Okay, perfect. And then those of you who don't know, the reason I asked that question is because I put mentions in my schema for the entities that I put in my content, and that kind of ties that all together. And it works crazy well, especially when you get a report. In my case, Cora report that highlights so much entity stuff. When I do that one extra step, it works great. So, and having that information is it matches what the Google NLP is doing, and TextRaiser is matching that and pulling in the Wikipedia reference to that, which is what Google does. What Google is giving TextRaiser, and having that information is gangbusters. So one other one that I would like to see is categories. Maybe even just the top 5 to keep it simple. If
Yeah.
TextRaiser, I know you can get it from the web version. I don't know if the API gives it to you.
Well, categories is an interesting challenge. I really want to include them too. But the question is, how best do you do it?
Yeah.
And so I envision a world where having a NLP category is kind of like having a JSON LD entity,
Specific type is
and that Cora should recommend which categories you need to have to rank well. But doing that, one factor per category, that easily adds thousands of new factors. So it's an interesting one. Another way we could approach it is we could go down here to uh, the overview, and we could just add another text column here that has a comma delimited list of categories for each result. And then we don't recommend or correlate, we just let you kind of eyeball it.
eyeball it and figure it out yourself. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
work.
so
That would
there's
probably
that
work.
type of thing. So, it's a possibility, and we may do that in the very near future, but there's still a question of how best to do it. And does it lead to winning rankings, which I don't know that there's been a lot of experimentation in terms of SIA or ING testing on categories. I know Joe Priest did once, and if I recall correctly, his result was inconclusive at that time.
Yeah,
So it
that was
probably,
pre-Bert, I think. So
yeah, probably needs retesting at this point.
let's see. Some other things I came up with, like with my Black Cat things, when I saw the first version was mass page site, which you did. You don't even have to say anything to you. You're like, mass page site. So I think you've been hanging out with me too long. The other one was supporting pages, which is why I was asking about, what can I change in that content for the header footer? Um,
Yeah, so you'll be able to customize it. I know that Malti is already thinking about ways of turning Cora Lite into his own white label SEO tool by making templates that give very specific recommendations in very specific areas. And I totally plan on supporting that type of usage where you can use Cora Lite to create a new kind of SEO report that nobody else has
right.
and brand it and make it your own. That's awesome. I love that.
That's why I was asking about the right side stuff too, is because if I'm making supporting pages, that's a lot of duplicate content. Obviously, the report's going to give us a whole bunch more, but there's still a lot there that I can tinker with and change just to make the Google's happy for a little bit. So, and I especially like that you put in the video, and there's more opportunities there just to be able to embed videos. I got video, image, and text to make these pages a lot more unique and meaningful.
Yep.
And once we figure the mobile thing, you just figure out how well Google's going to index these, because they are unique. And I think it's safe to say you could probably run this search term once a month and get a completely unique web page out of it. So, um,
Yeah.
which goes
When I
both ways.
uploaded this website in the first week, I got about 18,000 visits from the 10,000 page website I built.
Wow.
Now, what's odd is how completely at odds that data is with Google Analytics. I launched it all with Google Analytics, and what I learned is that Google Analytics is like 90% lossy for new websites.
Could it have been
So,
just a lot of bots though? Because
well,
I'm assuming you're comparing it to your server logs, right?
yeah, comparing to the
So.
server. So I'm sure some of that is bot definition, but even there's other stuff that was clearly not bots, and Google was lossy of that.
Right.
So on traffic, I hear it, but on unique visitors, it seemed like they were egregiously lossy.
That's kind of
And if
weird.
Google never tells you what it's excluding, how can you tell the truthiness of Google?
Right.
You can't.
Or how can you justify going to a higher paid plan if you don't know if the analytics is working right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I would expect from Google is to say, "Oh, with bots, your traffic would have been X, or with the stuff we felt like excluding, your traffic would have been X. Then I can go, oh, it's roughly in proportion.
Right.
So, what Google reports and what Google excluded roughly equals my log file.
And it's
But
kind of bullshit if you think about it, because how many people are technical enough to know to go look at or have access to their server logs and can see
yeah,
that variation? So they might be actually doing a little bit better than they think, but because Google is showing in this, a newbie that could lead a newbie to quit. I'm only getting 40, 50
yeah,
visitors a
and
day.
it turns out, after like doing that whole study, that the only detail Google Analytics got right on a new website was the start date.
That's awesome.
That was it. And it just made me wonder, why on earth would I use this?
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's insane. All right. So, wow. Hour and 12 minutes in. That's my fault because we're shit broke, yo. I don't know. Anyone have any questions about this while I'm waiting for the delay to kick in? The links to Cora Lite is down below in the description, and the links to the show notes is in the description as well up top. So if you want to check those out, full disclosure, Cora Lite affiliate. It's a what is it? 125, 150.
125.
125 a month, which is half of what Cora is. If you're already a Cora user, you can get a copy of this for free in conjunction with your membership. Or if you're thinking about getting the full turbo version of Cora, the original version of Cora, that would be a great time because you have another tool to add to the tool set that comes along with that, which is Core Trends, the diff tool, and correlate anything. And then there's still some depreciated tools in there. The outreach tool is still there if you're into that. You can play with that. And I think you got one more in there in the depreciated one.
Yeah, my goal is that Cora Lite will replace the outreach tool.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does a really good job. Um, as you're building these features, I think maybe what you could do if you're going to replace outreach is add, like you did with the factors, make it so that I can pick some of the factor charts as well that I can drop in there
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same
that's
time.
that's an interesting idea, but that's getting into Cora territory. So
Yeah.
still
Well,
want
hey,
some
this
separation.
is this is this is correlate, and it's I think here's the value for me for that is correlate's only on page, and when I do audits, either for brand new clients or just doing outreach, I focus on page anyway, because I know that's where I'm going to get my quick wins, and link building is kind of a pain in the ass. So um, if you have the charts in here, and I do a presentation video, uh, and I'm doing video outreach, I have the page up on the website. Here's where to go to see this. I have my opening documentation to make each one of those pages unique. I have a place to embed my site audit video on top of that. And then I have some graphs and stuff that I can talk about it, because when you're talking to a client and you're looking at this, you seem really smart, right? But to them, they're just kind of glazed over, and yeah, it's just numbers. Um, versus if I have some pretty graphs and I can go over the top three factors um, on those graphs in my video. Here's the rest of the stuff. Here's the things you need to do. Oh, by the way, we can do it for you for X amount of money. I think that would make this for the outreach tool to replace the outreach tool. That'd be perfect because you're not bringing in the off-page stuff.
It's true. And
And
with the charts being limited to competitors chosen, that seems reasonable.
pretty easy.
I'll put it on the to-do list.
And then maybe just have it set to do just the top three. You know what I mean? So you're not going crazy and doing all kinds of things. I just want to know the top three. These are my top three wings that I can do for you and on page. And these are going to take me hell, it's entities. So entities, 41 words. I get to drop in there, fix your open graph, which would be really stupid easy, and then maybe we'll get with you and write some sentences. I probably wouldn't even do the sentences because it's on the page one is average. So if mine was really low, in this case it is. See, I got 20 sentences versus 212. Um, I would need to do more. So, and that right there is what that's you know writers making sure the sentences are right, the content. So there's 2 weeks of work right there in those top three, and I can highlight that and illustrate that in right off the bat before we get into all the numbers and the rest of it.
Yep.
Mm. And I don't see any more questions. So, you have anything else you want to show off real quick?
No, I think that's it. Largely it's just, do your search, uh, get the report, and spend 90% of your time in the roadmap. And, you either want to tune to be above average for quick wins, or you want to go for the gold and take the lead.
I want to take the
That's
lead. Yep.
really it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Cora Lite, guys. It's stupid simple, and it gives you the information you need right at the hat without having to look through all the rest of the stuff on the spreadsheet. It's awesome. So what I'm going to do now is we'll end this episode. Ted, thank you very much for coming on and saving me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And then I'm going to wait for Ted to do his update because he said earlier he was going to really stay with the keyword densities. So I want you guys to
Well,
see
well,
that.
now you have me rethinking charts. So it'll be shortly.
Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll retest it when I get the updates to see if it was my streaming or not that busted it. So you guys will know what you can, the limits you can push your computer when you're running Corelite at the same time. And then if it's the streaming, I will recut another video this week, and I'll push it through. I'll upload it and then quote unquote do it live with a premiere thing so that I can be in the chat at the same time because I have some more ideas on what I want to do with the pages with the output, not only for some internal stuff but maybe even looking at the HTML and seeing how much of that HTML you can copy paste into WordPress and put that in your WordPress installs if you're running that, um, or making some PBN networks or whatever. And you can kind of double dip. You have a PBN network based off of these niches, and they're linking to your money sites. On top of that, you have some outreach tools that you can use for client generation. So you can double dip on that process. And then I'll also look at the HTML and how to spin that right side stuff, how much work that'll be to make that a little bit unique, and then test the indexing of these pages and see what it would take to rank one of these. So if you have an SEO roadmap for drug rehab in Houston, how far will one of these pages get you in rankings? And my guess is because of the additive variations, the leading terms, and all that stuff in the right side panel, these are actually going to rank really well if you take a little bit of time to make them unique and turn them into something cool. So, um,
Well, and then
anything.
there's the other use case that if you're walking into businesses to talk about SEO, having a pamphlet you can print out and take in hand can be
Yep.
very beneficial.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I think a couple of the things that that I'll play with, and that's the case over there. If you look at the right side, it needs to be a little bit darker to make it more readable. That kind of stuff for, and then I'll look at some some other things that we can do to kind of stuff this up and make it look badass. I think it'd be awesome. So with that, thank you all for coming. I appreciate the patience. I know I've been gone a month, but hopefully it was worth the wait. I'd like to thank Ted for saving me. And if you could hit the like button, subscribe, make sure you hit the bells or whatever so you're notified if the new show comes out. And I will see you guys tomorrow on SEO Fight Club. What are we talking about? Do you have a topic on that, Ted?
I'm on the fence about talking about my Google Analytics study because it may want to be a test case over at IMG.
All right.
So if that's the case, then I kind of have to scramble to talk about the update, which is the other topic. And I'm also open to ideas, but it's kind of up in the air at the moment.
I think the update would be really good because I can tell you that I got a lot of green arrows. Even on sites that I just shouldn't, like Digital Ear, for example. That this page, when you ran your made your math site, it wasn't even there, and it's coming back for no reason. I think the update would be a really good, timely topic for everyone. And then yeah, your put on the other side, the Google Analytics stuff. That's something I think business owners should know is that Google Analytics is lying to you. Here's how to prove it, and kind of you know lie to
Well,
test the tool a little bit
yeah,
to make sure you get the accurate stuff.
yeah. I don't know if it's willful lying or just
Just the way it's set up.
yeah, just over time they've omitted so much that when you go to start a new business, maybe they're omitting too much.
You're right. Hmm, that's interesting. All right. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And again, Ted, thank you and appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.